What's up, guys? It's Jordan. Demi is out for the day. She'll be back next show. My guest today is Alison Sudol. She's a musician and actress. You may know her from her role as Queenie in the Fantastic Beasts movies. She has a new album out called Still Come the Night. So let's talk to her. Let's start off, of course, with the new album, Still Come the Night. It's gorgeous, by the way. Such an atmospheric. So it just really puts you in a really unique mood, and I love the whole sound. It's very cohesive. So I know that there's a lot that went into this album, both musically and emotionally. And but let's start on the musical side of it. Mm-hmm. Did you have an idea of the overall sound that you wanted this album to have, or did it kind of just piece together organically over time?
So in going into a record, I usually will try and pull together some sonic references just so I can send it to everybody else so they know where my head's at. I hadn't worked much with Chris Hyson before, he's just unreal. He's incredible. Or Alex and Lloyd Haynes, who played guitar and drums. So this was really like going in quite raw and fresh with everybody. So I had a playlist, but the playlist was quite like, I had sort of two playlists. Actually, sorry, I'm going to put my Do Not Disturb on. How does one do that? Do not disturb me, go away, everybody. There we go. Okay.
I should do the same thing. So yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So unprofessional.
Good reminder. Yeah. The worst when you're filming a video interview, like an in-person video interview, and you're really into it, and there's a ding.
Yeah. Or just like a really embarrassing ringtone goes off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had sort of two playlists, I think, at that point that I sent everybody. But the thing with music is that it's so much about the musicians that are with you, the energy of a studio, of a space, of a time. And I feel like if you're too regimented about what the sound needs to be like, you can lose what it is trying to be. So, I mean, everybody knew the general sonic space that I wanted to explore. They knew it would be, like the sort of the world that I wanted to occupy. But then it just happened organically as well. And certain influences that I've certainly had, and that the guys had that weren't on the playlist, came up, like Elliott Smith, who I absolutely love, but he wasn't on the playlist. But that kind of that part of my musical past came through in Playground, and it's always a surprise what an album is going to be. Like, I can never fully visualize it.
Well, it came together, and I think it also reminds me, this is like really obscure, but it also kind of has the feeling of, since you're in the UK now, of Badly Drawn Boy, if you're familiar, anyone's familiar.
Oh yeah, of course. Boy. Yeah.
With sort of where it's sort of a familiar acoustic rock sound, but there's all sorts of interesting instrumentation and unexpected sounds and instruments coming from different places and things like that. So
yeah, those records are great. Oh, that's a cool reference. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a nerdy reference, but
is it?
A little bit. Yeah. A little bit. I feel like a lot of people know Badly Drawn Boy almost from the About a Boy soundtrack.
I was going to say, he did that brilliant soundtrack for About a Boy.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that's nerdy, but I mean, I'm a nerd, so I guess I can't really.
Well, speaking of
speaking with these giant glasses.
Speaking of my nerdy glasses, I'm not a nerd. Hang on, I'm really not a nerd.
Now I'm not a nerd.
Yeah, now I'm a nerd again. But in terms of the sound of this, when I was listening to it, one thing I noticed, I'm not a musician, but I'm sort of a geek when it comes to production and stuff. And I noticed how specifically the drums on this album sound very warm and organic, and like they were recorded in a small room. The snare has a nice buzz to it. A lot of people tighten the snare to where it's just like a clack, and this is a very kind of buzzy snare sound.
Yeah.
So so was that you, or was that just a nice thing that the guys you worked with kind of enveloped, or did you request something that sounded had that warm sort of 70s feel to it?
Yeah, I mean those records are in the references in terms of yeah, I mean, I'd have to look back onto the exact playlist that I sent because I've made so many playlists, but the instruments sounding like instruments.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good,
like that was important. Feeling like you could hear the texture of the instrument. That was really important to me. And I hate when things are so like cleaned up that they just, it sounds like brittle and really like mean. I don't want the drums to be jarring, because I do ask often I asked Lloyd quite a lot to play loudly, like play a lot. And so it's important. And Alex Kirkpatrick, who's our engineer, he was great at getting those, like miking it up in the right way, so that when I was like, make it thunderous, be huge, and that was me, and that was Chris. Like Lloyd could play like hell, and it wouldn't be sonically like messed up. So I think like really like Chris is brilliant at getting things to sound really beautiful. Alex is brilliant at making things to sound. It's all, everybody kind of contributes to that sound. It's important to us. We're all geeks. We're all
sonic.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're releasing this.
So speaking of geeks, oh my God, I just realized my cup has an A on it. This is a gift.
It's kind of cool. What's the drawing or the illustration or something on the side?
It's like a badger eating cake. It's not cool. This is not. It's not a cool.
For a second, I thought it was like a Fantastic Beasts swag gift cup or something.
But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if I drank out of that, because I've got like all these like Japanese ceramic cups, but then you get to the edge of the dishwasher needing to be run, and then you get to, like the bargain bin mugs.
Yeah.
And that's I'm at the like weird gift. I mean,
I had a large collection of sports logo mugs that had been given to me by my parents and stuff over the years. Yeah. So you're releasing this music under your own name, Not a Fine Frenzy.
Yeah.
And I feel like it has a different sound, definitely. And I feel like the stuff that you released under your own name in like 2018, 19, that era, I felt like that was kind of an in between of Fine Frenzy and what you're releasing now. Do you view it, your stuff you release under your own name versus Fine Frenzy, is two different things, or is Fine Frenzy done and you're just Alison Sudol?
Well, I mean, thank you for noticing that, by the way. That's very cool. I was 22 when my first record came out, and I was 19 when I began writing it. So like, think about what you were wearing, listening to, doing when you were 20. You know what I mean? Like 15 years ago. It's like, yes, of course I've evolved and changed. A Fine Frenzy was where I was at musically at that point. And I was young. I was trying to figure things out. I was navigating the music industry. It wasn't necessarily the best environment for me, the one that I was in after a certain point. And so my music there was a lot of conflict going on behind the scenes. And so when I ended a Fine Frenzy, I was trying to kind of distance myself from a lot more than just the kind of music that I was making. And then I made lots of music that I didn't release after that last record until I released the 2 EPs. And I was just sort of like finding my feet, I think, because I was in the public eye so young, there was a certain element of like fear of making mistakes or like trying stuff like I needed to do. So I sort of did, because the music that I was making quite early on ended up being on One Cell in the Sea. And so there was a lot of evolution that happened in those years where I didn't put anything out. And like it's only now actually that I'm like 15 years after that first record that I'm able to kind of like see more of an arc, feel like less like I have to distance myself from a fine frenzy, because that's just what I was making at the time. But there was just all this other like trauma that kind of lodged onto that name that didn't have anything to do with anything. Like they should have been separate, but I couldn't separate them when I was 27. I had to kind of just, I mean, I was 27. I was still 27. Like I was still so young when I ended that.
That's the strangest thing of people who get started so young. As you get in, you're like, oh, I've been around 10 years already, but I'm not even 30 yet. It's
oh God, I know. I literally thought my career was over at 27.
Yeah.
Like, what was I doing? Like, it's I'm just still barely even have any idea how to use my voice at that point, like as a singer, I was just
let's talk about that. How vocally, have you worked with professional teachers, or have you purposely tried to work on your voice? Like what have you done in terms of vocals over the years to kind of expand and evolve?
So I worked with too many teachers when I was young. So many people with absolute views of how you should sing, and conflicting to the point where I was like 16 or 17 and I actually like stopped being able to sing for a while. Like,
really,
I think I was so in my head that I just like, and some weird crap that a singing teacher, or a few singing teachers too in particular, said, you're so young. I think I seemed very mature when I was really young. So I think people were just like, oh, you can handle me giving you really adult language and talking to you like you're a peer when you have the emotional language of like a 12-year-old, like,
right.
So I sang with so many people, and then I stopped taking lessons, and then I was like just singing to kind of survive, because like when you're touring you're just singing all the time. And what I learned throughout recording many songs and albums is that I just needed to learn how to write for my voice, because I would write sort of in spite of my voice, or I would write kind of like stuff that I couldn't necessarily sing very well as I was writing it, and then I would kind of like try and shoehorn myself into being able to sing it. And so like the older I've gotten and the more I've sung, I just started to realize like where I sing naturally and what feels good, and like try and lean into that and lean into the right key of a song, and
and knowing what keys and melodies you excel at, is that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning that. I'm just at the edge of that. I think Still Come the Night is the beginning of a lot of that for me. That my 2 EPs, Moon and Moonlight, those were also really teaching, because I tried a lot of different things stylistically and vocally.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all learning. And I think the important thing is to continue learning and to continue kind of being curious, and to go, okay, this isn't working. Like, even there's like a song that that on the album is a certain key, and I just can't sing it very well live. Like I just go off key like crazy. And then we just tried playing it half step lower the other day, and it was like, oh, that's so easy. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just sometimes your voice is just like,
I think our mind is predicated to hear certain tones more clearly, or to repeat certain tones or something. Yeah. Who knows? Science. Am I right? Science. The human body.
Mystery.
Right. So at this point, you got this album out, and you've had such a success as an actor the last several years. What's kind of your acting to music balance, kind of day to day? Have you kind of set aside? I feel like we talk to a lot of people who do both, and some people like to kind of have concurrent, some people like to sort of have big chunks of time that are just for music or just for acting,
Right. Yeah, I guess like it in different points in time it's been concurrent. Like I made Moon and Moonlight whilst filming Fantastic Beasts. I was taking trains down to Bristol on my days off and working on that music. And that was, I think, what I needed that at the time. I needed um they each fulfilled really different things for me. I was going through a really difficult time personally, and Beasts was this like magical escape world. Literally, it's an escape world on screen, but it was for me just such an escape. I would get picked up at a certain time, brought to set. The shambles of my life at home could just like be there, and I would
like
come
the
back.
Harry Potter train, like a real life Harry Potter train taking you up.
Yeah, of course. That's how you get
Mm.
to these
Mm.
films. And then on the off days, then I would go and I would work on music, and I would just go directly into the pain and just like face it, deal it, excavate, like, and other sides of myself too, not just pain, but like parts of myself that had been suffocated that needed air. Um, and yeah, that was really helpful at the time. But I think in general, it's easier for me to have dedicated time, because especially now I have a toddler, so it's like too much back and forth, and I start to feel like I'm going insane. It's a little hard to balance those two.
Yeah.
Which
Do you
are on top
find
of each other. Yeah.
right? Um, I know that motherhood inspires some people in different ways. Do you think inspires you directly artistically? Because some people literally will write songs about their children or whatever. I sound very callous. I sound like someone who doesn't have kids, obviously. Um,
Okay.
but do you find that you're wanting that being a mom inspires you, or is it more just like putting a little joy in your heart that makes you want to work more,
Mm. I mean, yeah, it's the most inspiring thing. It's hilariously like the hardest it's ever been to create, to be creative, because it's just
Yeah.
like time and exhaustion and stuff make it really hard. But um, the power that I've discovered inside of myself, and the sort of like the resilience and the stamina, all is like it blasts your identity becoming a parent and becoming a mother physically. I mean, it's just everything just and then out of that wreckage you sort of pick up the pieces of yourself. And I felt like I had an opportunity to just take what I wanted with me, and then the other parts that I didn't feel served, I wanted to try and leave them behind. Obviously it's not always the case, but um one of the things that I wanted to leave behind was my fear of creativity, my paralysis around creativity, my overthinking around creativity. Those are things that I was just like, I don't think I have time for this anymore. And so I have felt this huge surge in my creative brain since coming out of the 1 year from like about to a year. I was like, but from after that, yeah, it was like I've been insanely creative to the point where sometimes it's like a joke, but it's great.
It's interesting. So you almost had like a wall that you broke through or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, it felt like that too. And it's I've really been thinking so much lately about resistance, and the fact that like we're in this day and age where it's kind of like, well, if there's resistance, like it means you're not supposed to go there, just like going towards the path of the, ease and flow and like, everything's like peace and light, I and like I'm more of a secret hippie than most, I am woo woo to the but I feel like I'm a real believer that we have to go through like the subterranean, like, I don't know, garbage layers in order to get further deeper in towards our truth um and that resistance I feel like it so often precedes just a huge amount of growth, but you really have to like persevere. And so, like when I see kids who are younger than me and just like giving up, I gave up so much. I gave up so many times. I wish I had like pushed through the wall to get
Yeah.
to the good.
Well, how many success stories have something about how many rejection people have and over
Mhm.
again, trying again and trying again? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a big self-help person? Do you read self-help books? Do you read blog articles? Are you into that whole sphere?
I gosh, I've got a good amount of them. Yeah. But, I don't have time to read them anymore. If I have time to read, I'm gonna read like a chewy novel, like I read one entire book yesterday because I had a lot of train journeys, and I just read a book just to
That sounds so quaint of you traveling by train through England, reading a book. It's just, that's what, when fans think about what you look like when you travel, that's what they're thinking of.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
when I'm talking about I mean, that's hilarious, especially being an American, like, who fantasized about life in England. I mean, you
Right.
do take a lot of trains that do take you through countryside, but this particular train was like I'm talking subway, like,
Commuter rail. Yeah.
talking, like,
Yeah.
smells like armpits and, like,
Right.
I'm sitting on, like, who knows what,
Beer,
like
beer stained seats or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
there's, like, the remains of a bachelorette party, like, it's not cute and quaint,
Okay.
but there have been plenty of
Mm.
journeys where I'm on nicer trains, just not yesterday.
What's it like being part of a world that has such a fanatical following, where you're part of such a larger universe with fan fiction and theories and people tweeting at you and all that sort of stuff? And that 20 years from now, you're going to run into people who are 12 when Secrets of Dumbledore came out or whatever, and they're going to be like, oh, I remember you. Like that's
Yeah.
got to be both be kind of a weight and also sort of a joy to be part of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely, like, it's not in my experience, and I've done some Comic Cons and stuff like that, like, it's
Right.
not really the kind of thing that brings mean people to the party, like, it's people that believe in magic and, like,
Right.
wanna, like, spend their time thinking about what magic house they'd be when they went to Hogwarts and stuff like that, so
Right.
it's quite a nice world to be in, and uh, it is so important to people, and that is a wild thing to be affiliated with that, and I don't think that there's any way to process that really, except just to be grateful for it. And it's just, it's not something that is reflected in my daily life particularly, except for the fact that my neighbors across the street, they have 4 kids, and one of their kids was like hounding me for a coloring book, for about a day. But he didn't care after that. He just wanted the coloring book, and then I gave it to
Yeah.
him. Who knows if he, but like that was it. Um, I took my friend and her daughter as well, the same
Mhm.
family, to the premiere, and they were the only people I, like, wanted to impress. Like, I just wanted to
Mhm.
be like, "Hey, look, look at me, I'm in a big dress." But
Yeah.
it's not the world I live in, certainly not, like, music.
Right. Right.
music is significantly smaller and significantly less.
Yeah. It's definitely a different thing, but that's interesting to talk about. Like Star Wars people are different than Marvel people are different than Harry
Yeah.
Potter people, and yeah, totally different. Gotcha.
Awesome.
Do you see yourself getting more like doing more acting roles? Being that something you do more often in the future, or do you like doing it kind of here and there?
I mean, I grew up in LA where my parents had an acting studio, and then my dad continued to teach actors in LA. My aunt is an acting teacher. Um, it's a really like strange industry, and
Mm-hmm.
I I kind of just like ride the waves with it, like sometimes there's just roles that like Beast just gave me an opportunity to be a part of something that like little kids would think I was magic, you know what I mean? And I had the
Yeah.
opportunity to make this character like to be a magical empath. So I was like, yeah.
Hell yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
Hell yeah,
totally.
and I kind of didn't really like get into it much more than that, but
Mm-hmm.
it really comes down to the role, the project, the director, the timing, where it films, how long it films.
Sure, especially
You
now with
know?
motherhood.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay, do I need to take my kid out of nursery? Like,
yeah.
what's my partner doing? Is he working at
Right,
the? You know what I mean? So
right, right.
I have to be much more pragmatic at this point. So I have no idea, but I definitely am um, running towards music headlong. I have so many songs, so much that I haven't um, really given enough time to in the past. So I'm following that.
Yeah, were there a lot of tracks that didn't make the album that you're kind of tooling around with for future releases? Like, because I always think that's fun. Or
Mhm.
you're like done. You're like done.
No, no, no. That particular album was like because it was about a specific journey that was
Sure.
pretty much like, okay, this part of the journey needs to be addressed, this part. And there's one song that's not on the record that will be released later, but no, there's no tinkering from that time because that was like very specific. But there's a lot brewing, and like there's a
Yeah,
lot that that there's space to explore now.
and whatever production and music people you worked with on this, definitely go back to that well because it worked very well.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's like that's a deep well, and that's a long term well. They are amazing musicians and human beings. So yeah, I feel very fortunate, and like they're friends, and yeah, I love them. I love them so much.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Before I let you go, I know that you're big into environmentalism and saving the planet. Um, I feel like I'm a big electric car advocate, especially here in LA. Like $6 gas, like come on, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
right.
you literally drive down the block.
Yeah,
Not even
it's
LA.
it's bizarre to get to a point where you plan trips based on gas mileage and stuff. I even think if I'm driving into the hills or something, oh, that's going to
Six
mess up my
dollar
gas
gas.
mileage. Yeah, excuse me.
$6.
Six
$6
dollars
a
is what
gallon.
we're still doing $5.50 to $6. Yeah, yeah,
Gosh,
but
I remember being like 269. That's
yeah,
expensive, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Whoa.
But what I want to ask you is someone who's been active in that on that side of things. Do you feel like it's gone from this sort of thing that only lefty liberal people are into to everyone? Do you feel, having been in that world, doing fundraisers and things over the years, do you feel like that it's easier to convince people that this is a real problem?
It's not everyone enough. It might seem like it because we follow probably similar, like follow like-minded people on social media
Sure.
and read like-minded news outlets and stuff like that. So it can seem like everybody's on board, but like, no, there's still a lot of work to do, and a lot of waste, and a lot of ways things are done that are need to change and shift. And I think there's like some part of us as human beings is just like really like resists change, like really resist change until we absolutely have to change. And that's worrying because we're getting pretty clear signs left and right that things need to change, and we're still like, but I still want to have.
People are literally moving cities away from shorelines, like entire cities and towns, to get away from because of the erosion, and that's what irritates me, is when there's plain as day evidence that is affecting and is expensive. It's not like this is like a free thing that when your house gets blown down that you just one magically appears. It's expensive to do all this. So I appreciate people like you and, you know, out there being vocal about it, you know, not just the charities themselves, or, you know, everyone's heard from Sting, and there's sort of like this kind of team of celebrity and, you know, climate change people, you know, and so it's good to like populate it more, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, we all need to get on board. There's certainly like way more that I could be doing, and I think we all could be doing. And what I used to feel before I got involved with the many organizations that I work with, I was like on a major label, had a big Twitter following, blah, blah, and I was like, I don't know what I can do. And then I kind of started to reach out to people and went, oh, right, I can use my voice or whatever. And then I realized at a certain point that I could have done stuff way earlier. Like community-based projects are really important. They might not be like big and flashy, but like that's where, you know, beach cleanups, like do stuff with your friends, like do small things, because they add up. Like if you see stuff around you, like people still using plastic bags at, you know, your local grocery, like petition it, because those little things add up, and those are the things that we're all wanting the big corporations to change. And obviously that is where the mega stuff does need to change, but it's just, we're just in an emergency, so we've got to do all the things. And if like a bird doesn't eat that plastic bottle cap, that's like, okay, because you picked it up, like that's cool,
right?
You know,
right.
like you like do that. Yeah. Don't wait till you're like big and famous and fancy to do something, because actually you could probably do quite a lot. Right. And I wish I had known that. I wish I had realized that I mattered, and that I didn't have to just have some kind of status or whatever. So yeah, just no one told me. I don't know what I was.
No one told me. Right.
I mean, now there's like a lot more of that, I think, out there. And youth activists are so extraordinary, and they're just doing such amazing work, you know, and it's just like, just keep doing it.
Yeah, I think that the people who are under the age of 25 now that have grown up with this, it's not a political thing to them. They, you know, so anyway.
It's our age. It's the, like, yeah, you know, like, because we're all like, oh, the kids will fix it.
Right.
They're amazing. But it's like, no, they're also kids. Like,
yeah. Like,
let's all pitch in, because it's, yeah, like I said, it's an emergency.
Just watch Ferngully once in a while. Just
I haven't seen that in such a long time.
The little smoke monster, smog, like freaked me out when I was a kid, right? The little smog monster. Anyway.
Oh God, I haven't. I mean, like I only remember, is Zsa Zsa Gabor in that?
Is she like the villain or something, or like she sings a song, doesn't she, or something? Or...
I feel like she's in that. Like, I don't know why I remember that. I must have seen that movie when I was like, or something. But yeah, I'll watch
Ferngully and learn something.
Ferngully and then get on our feet.
Exactly. So with that, Alison, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Likewise. And everyone, check out the new album. It sounds great. I love a good late night album. I think that's a good like 11 p.m. kind of album. So
that's great. That's a great way to listen to it. Thank you. All right.
All right. We'll see you later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. That was Alison Sudol. Her new album, Still Come the Night, is out now. That'll be it for me. Demi will be back next show. Until then, go to popdust.com for the latest in pop culture and music news, and check out past episodes on Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, we'll see you later.